Okay guys, we're going to go over evolution today. Why do so many different animals have the same structures, like the arm bones in a human are the same bones as a flipper and a whale? Why are there bones and fossil evidence of creatures that no longer exist? What happened to these creatures? Why do organisms have structures they no longer use, like the appendix in a human or the non-functioning wings in a penguin? So we're going to talk about evolution today. These questions and others can be answered by evolution. The theory of evolution is considered a unifying theory of biology because it answers many of these questions and offers an explanation for the data. And again, guys, remember this is a theory. So we're going to talk about Charles Darwin. Born in Shrewsbury, England in 1809, he studied medicine at Edinburgh University, where the sight of blood and surgery without anesthetics repulsed him. He studied to become a clergyman at Cambridge University. So after Cambridge, Charles was recommended for a surveying trip on the HMS Beagle. He sailed aboard the Beagle for 5 years, working as a naturalist. A naturalist is basically like somebody who goes around and studies and writes down and documents all of the things that he comes in contact with. So Darwin noticed that everywhere he went on his voyage, the animals and plants differed vastly. Patterns in the species suggested that the species had changed over time and had given rise to new and different species. Many of Darwin's conclusions were based on observations of wildlife in the Galapagos Islands. The Galapagos Islands lie 500 miles west of Ecuador in the Pacific Ocean, directly on the equator. So here's our equator, here's the Galapagos Islands, and Galapagos means turtle. The Galapagos finches. So Darwin noticed on these islands there were several types of finches, and a finch is a small bird. In particular, Darwin observed something odd about the finches. They all looked like a bird he had seen on the South American continent. Darwin wondered if the birds and other animals had been created to match their environment, and then why didn't these birds look like the birds of the African continent, since the environments of both the Galapagos and Africa were very similar. Darwin guessed that some of the birds from South America migrated to the Galapagos. Once on the island, the birds must have changed over the years. This would explain the numerous species of birds present. Darwin called this descent with modification or evolution, change in species over time. Darwin extended these principles to biology, which helped him form his theory of natural selection or survival of the fittest. So the 5 basic components of natural selection. Number 1, all species have genetic variations. Every species is different, even within itself. So if you look around you, we are not all the same. We are all different. We are all the same species, but we all have different variations. Number 2, the environment presents challenges to survival. There is a constant struggle for survival. Examples are drought, fires, floods, snowstorms, hurricanes, tornadoes, other natural disasters. This is just the environment. This does not include any other man-made challenges. Organisms produce more offspring than can survive. So competition, struggle for existence, exists within and among species. So within species, we need to fight for food, space, and mates. Among species, different species, they're fighting for food and space. Survival of the fittest. Some organisms are more suited to their environment as a result of variation in the species. Fitness is the ability of an individual to survive and reproduce in a specific environment. Fitness is a result of adaptation. Organisms who possesses favorable traits will leave more offspring. So in other words, he who spreads the most genes wins. Descent with modification. Living species today are descended with modifications from common ancestral species. Characteristics of fit individuals increase in a population over time. Over time, genes for the less favored characteristics will be eliminated from the gene pool. An example, giraffes and their long necks. Natural selection, survival of the fittest. An adaptation is any inherited characteristic, a genetic variation, that can increase an organism's chance of survival. An organism does not change because of need or desire to survive. The organism either already has the variation that enables it to survive or it dies. For example, a rabbit does not wake up one day and says it needs to be faster than the fox. The rabbit is either faster or it will be eaten. Adaptations. Adaptations are evidence of evolution. Structural adaptations. We have mimicry. Mimicry enables one species to look like another. Here we have a yellow jacket wasp. If it stings you, it will hurt really bad. Here we have a harmless cyprid fly. Does not sting, but since it looks like the wasp, animals leave it alone. Camouflage enables organisms to blend in with their environment. This is where we got the example of camouflage from, so we're copying it from the animals. They can blend in and help their survival chances. So we have different evidence of evolution. Today, most evidence for evolution are grouped into 5 main categories: fossil record, biochemical, comparative anatomy, biogeography, and observable events. Comparative anatomy. We have homologous structures. We know the term homo meaning same or similar. So homologous structure are structures with similar structures but different functions. So we have the turtle, alligator, bird, and mammal, all with the same bones, they just have different functions. Homologous structures show similar genes. Also descent from a common ancestor. Comparative anatomy with vestigial structures. Vestigial structures are organs so reduced in size that they are no longer functionable, so they are non-functioning remnants of similar organs in other species. For example, human tailbone, our appendix, and the whale pelvis. So here we have a whale pelvis. They have hip bones, but they no longer need them, so they are so reduced in size that they are non-functioning. Analogous structures are body parts that do not have common evolutionary origins but are similar in function. Let's go back. So we have a bird wing, butterfly wing, same function but no evolutionary relationship. Embryology. Embryos of different species may appear similar in early stages of development. Comparison of similarities in embryo can show relationship to a common ancestor. So here we have a fish, a salamander, a turtle, and a pig. They all start off very similar before they start to differentiate. Fossil record. Paleontology, the study of fossils. Fossils are remains or traces of organisms that lived long ago. Remains are examples of bone, tooth, or shell, something that was actually left by the organism. Traces would be something that they either burrowed, a footprint, or an imprint. Most fossils are found in layered sedimentary rock. The oldest fossils are going to be on the lowest layer, and then as you get up, we get to our newest, youngest fossils. And then biochemical, the genetic code, triplets of DNA, nitrogen-based sequence that codes for specific amino acids. The amino acid triplet is the same in almost all organisms. So all organisms contain the same 4 bases, adenine, thymine, guanine, and cytosine. How they're put together makes us